Were you worried about your Winter Swans revision?
Well, worry no more, because we're here to save the day with some analysis.
Yay! Okay, so we've decided to look at Winter Swans by Owen Shears because he is lovely. And Winter Swans is also one of the most realistic of the love poems.
Yeah, definitely a sense of a relationship that I think reflects reality, that there's conflict, but you work through it. Mm-hmm. We do have a soft spot, I think, for Owen Shears, don't we?
Who wouldn't?
Right, let's get started. So, the title Winter Swans, I think, winter reflecting a sense of maybe almost the idea of dying, so linking to the conflict in the relationship, and a sense of coldness there. There's an emotional coldness between them because of a conflict they've had. Okay. Then, so we start with, the clouds had given their all, 2 days of rain. So there's a sense of pathetic fallacy where the weather's reflecting the emotions of the speaker and his partner, that there's been a conflict that's gone on for days now, and a sense almost that they've had enough, that they've given their all, and rain, I think, reflecting kind of sadness and conflict, in the sense of a storm, maybe linking to the idea of conflict.
Yeah. And then a break in which we walked the waterlogged earth, gulping for breath at our feet as we skirted the lake silent and apart. So the storm has been continuous and the rain has left the earth completely soggy, waterlogged. So if we've got this storm reflecting their argument, it might be suggesting that they are kind of full of these negative emotions, and it's left the earth kind of connoting growth and life. It's struggling to survive if it's waterlogged. Nothing's going to be able to grow if it's completely waterlogged. And then we have the gulping for breath, suggesting that their relationship might be desperate to survive, that desperate struggle for air.
That it's missing something vital, that it's almost kind of, this is the last chance for the relationship, maybe.
Yep.
And then, as we skirted the lake, silent and apart, so the verb skirted, I think, implies a sense of hesitancy, almost like they're avoiding something, so linking to the idea that they're avoiding talking about whatever it is that's caused the conflict between them. The idea of something hesitant and unsure, which is reflecting the fact that they're kind of unsure about their relationship and its future.
Okay, so the couple are continuing their walk around the pond, the lake, pond. Yeah. And they notice some swans. So we've got, until the swans came and stopped us with a show of tipping in unison, as if rolling weights down their bodies to their heads. So we've got this idea of them working together and dealing with a difficult, maybe situated difficult action. So as if rolling weights, something heavy and cumbersome, but again together down their bodies to their heads. So that repetition kind of emphasising their doing it together and working through it together.
Yeah, and the idea that they make a difficult thing look easy, I think, as well. And the swans kind of seem to be some kind of symbol for the speaker and his partner, the couple, that the swans represent aspects of their relationship too. So the idea that there's kind of hard work underneath it, but people can make it look easy.
They might work it out.
Yeah, which links to the next bit. So they halved themselves in the dark water, icebergs of white feather, paused before returning again. So dark water could symbolise, I think, a sense of uncertainty, the unknown. So linking to the future of the relationship being unknown, they're not sure about it. And also linking to the negative emotions that have caused the conflict they have. Yeah. And then icebergs of white feather. So I think there's kind of positive and negative connotations there. So iceberg, I think there's definitely a sense of danger. The idea that there are difficulties in relationships and maybe not necessarily expected ones. And then also the idea that there's kind of more to it than meets the eye. So there's a lot under the surface. So again, the idea that people don't always see what goes on underneath the surface. So there can be a lot of difficulties in a relationship that people might not necessarily see or expect. But then white feather, I think white often link into the idea of kind of purity, peace, hope. And we do see kind of a turning point now in the sense of conflict. So I think there is that sense of hope there.
Yeah, which links us in nicely to pause before returning again, like boats riding in rough weather. So we've got that simile suggesting that the swans are like boats. Boats obviously built for like buoyancy. They're built to survive. They are supposed to kind of right themselves when they do have rough weather. So they're kind of surviving despite the storm.
Yeah. In a sense, it's kind of a natural thing for them to right themselves. So the rough weather, I think, linking to the idea of storms in life, so conflict, that you can get through that, but it can be tough at the time.
Okay, so next stanza we've got, they mate for life, you said, as they left, porcelain over the stilling water. So if we've got the swans representing their relationship is now presented as being porcelain, suggesting that their relationship is fragile, valuable, beautiful, but it's managed to survive because we've got this porcelain over the stilling water, so the water is kind of increasingly settled and safe, but it is going to take a fair bit of time. It's not instantly still, it's stilling, so it's continuing. Continual process. It's going to take a while to resolve their conflict.
And then I didn't reply.
But as we moved on through the afternoon light.
Yeah, but as we moved on through the afternoon light, slow stepping in the lake's shingle and sand, I noticed our hands that had somehow swum the distance between us. So we've got kind of the conflict in a way being resolved now, because although he didn't reply, didn't say anything, it's almost subconsciously that he's noticed that suddenly they're holding hands now, and the way it's described is that their hands had swum the distance, implying that it was kind of a natural movement, as though they kind of belong together, and that they almost know that in spite of the conflict that they have, making it kind of subconscious. But the idea of swum the distance, implying that although swimming is kind of a graceful movement, the idea that it took work, that it takes work to resolve that conflict. And bring them back together again across the distance. Yeah.
And so now we have between us enfolded, one over the other, like a pair of wings settling after flight, which I think is a lovely ending. And this similar representing how they're kind of holding hands, suggesting that their hands are like a pair of wings. And of course, wings, you can't, if you don't have both, you wouldn't be able to fly. You kind of need both to be able to work, and also suggesting that, which I think is really cute, that they're both halves of a whole, and that they're now together.
Yeah, that's nice.
Which is lovely, I think.
Yeah, and then the other thing to talk about then is the structure. So there isn't a rhyme scheme, it doesn't rhyme, so we could say that there's a lack of rhyme scheme, which I think reflects the idea that the relationship isn't something that's kind of necessarily smooth or forced. It's something that has to come together through work. Yeah. And then there's also the enjambment throughout. So we've got the sentences kind of separated not only over lines but over stanzas as well, reflecting the separation between them, the conflict, the fact that they're not in unison at the beginning like the swans are, but also the idea that there's a turning point in the conflict as well. So between the second and the third stanza, you've got, as we skirted the lake, silent and apart, and then a new stanza, until the swans came and stopped us. So just representing the fact that seeing the swans and the loyalty between the swans that they mate for life is what kind of helped them to resolve the conflict.
Yeah, so they're connected but also separate. Apart from, at the end, we end with a lovely couplet, which I think just reflects really that they're united now. They're a renewed union.
Yeah, they come back together.
Yeah, which is lovely.
Great.